I saw a funny article. It says Microsoft may have created the slowest Windows in 25 years with Windows 11. So it's an embedded video here. Somebody testing 6 different versions of Windows. We have XP, Vista 7, 8.1 I think it was, Windows 10 and Windows 11. And he has bought like the same hardware and installed Windows on like similar or the same kind of hardware. So it should be comparable. And if try to find like some hardware in the middle that all those versions of Windows like would kind of support more or less. And we can watch that. So first he starts out here with just starting Windows, and we can play a bit here.
Quite a large lead as compared to the other operating systems. This is probably because it is the oldest version of Windows to have fast boot enabled, meaning that as compared to 10 and 11, it had less resources to load. You can call Windows 8.1 unpopular all you want, but it seems to also have a level of polish and stability that we don't really see with other versions of Windows. Anyways, in a surprising turn of events here, we can see that Windows 10 and Windows XP actually started up at pretty much the exact same time. You don't really see a lot of that, especially for the age gap between these two versions. Not too long later, Windows 7 starts up here as well, and here's another thing that surprised me, the gap between Windows Vista and Windows 7. These two operating systems look and function so similarly that I was actually surprised about the gap in startup between these two versions. In dead last, we have Windows 11. I honestly thought...
So Windows 11 actually appeared here first, but you will see that the taskbar is not visible yet, so you cannot use it.
System a slight advantage here compared to the older
here it's usable.
But that didn't really seem to be the case here. You can see that it's actually struggling to load the taskbar right now. Now, Windows 11 is running on unsupported hardware here, just so everyone is aware, but it's kind of necessary if we want to compare it with an older operating system such as Windows XP. Anyways, next is storage.
Finally got the taskbar up. But I think this with the older hardware and all that not supported. I think like technology should become faster by time. Like shouldn't the software be written more efficiently? I think it's a little bit of a waste. Like you make the computers faster, but you also make the software slower. So in the end, you haven't gained anything. You might actually have made it slower since like you're writing the software so much more inefficiently. I think it would be better to like try to aim at actually writing the software faster, so you can actually get some advantage of the increase in hardware performance. But that's not really the case if you use a more modern operating system. It's more heavy and resource intensive, so it cannot really run on older hardware that quick. So you need a beefy machine to be able to power that, even though it should like be the operating system and it should be fast, you might imagine, but not when it comes to Windows. So next is another test here. It was about storage. And then we have memory usage, and you will see it uses a lot more RAM. And then it continues, there are different benchmarks that it does, and Windows 11 doesn't perform that well. But let's go to the conclusion.
One thing I learned from this video for sure. Windows 11 is one of the slowest operating systems out of every version of Windows I have used, specifically for older hardware like this. I can't confidently say this for newer hardware though. I think the big problem here is Windows 11's massive consumption of memory. There was almost a 1 GB difference in memory consumption between Windows 10 and 11. While that might not seem like a lot on machines with 16 to 32 GB of memory, when you're limited with 8, losing a gigabyte of memory is quite significant. I have to say, when it comes to scores and benchmarks, we don't really see Windows 11 struggling here, or at least not that badly. It's when we get to practical real-world tests like opening applications and rendering files where we really see the disadvantage. And this is really the reason why I like doing both benchmarks and real-world tests. Scores can only tell so much about the system. Now, which operating system did really well? In my eyes, Windows 8.1 without a doubt. I have to say, this is one of the most polished versions of Windows I have ever used in terms of speed and stability, despite all the hate it got. Seriously, the difference in speed between Windows 8.1 and Windows 11 is so big, it's polarizing. But this is older hardware. Windows 11 and 10 don't even officially support 2nd gen Intel CPUs, and if it wasn't clear enough already, this test is really being done more for historic value rather than practicality, just to see how far we've come. Like, if you're using a Windows PC today, you should still install Windows 11 on it, since it's the only operating system out of the 6 we tested here that is still receiving support from Microsoft. minus some exceptions with Windows 10. So yeah, don't buy an operating system solely for speed. What matters more is its features, reliability, and security. You certainly have other ways to invest in better performance. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this. And
yeah, but like I said, it's a bit sad that there is such advancement in computer hardware. It's getting faster, but then we have this software that is getting slower, so they cancel each other out. And with the Windows 11, I've read a bit about like headlines about how they're replacing software and like the pieces in the start menu with React web technology that is slower and uses more memory. So I think that's in line with the results he's seeing, that they are like intentionally writing it in poorer technology. They're not using a low-level, efficient framework anymore. They are using more web technology. And I don't know if they're using Electron, but it's kind of inspired by that at the very least, to use web technology. So there are more overhead with that stack of software, and I think it shows up here. I thought this was a fun video, so if you want to check it out yourself, we can open it. Here you have it, so if you're interested, please go and check out this channel and video. It was an interesting test. Great that he could install the same version of Windows and run it in parallel on so many computers. It was interesting to see. And with that, I think that was everything I wanted to share today. Please leave a comment if you have any thoughts about this slowness in Windows and what you think. What are you gonna do? And let's see each other another time. Bye bye.